Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel Knits. My name is Dehnel and this is episode 39. I'm going to push through this episode. I have recorded it so many times and I'm getting way too in my head, so I'm just going to calm down and get through this, and this is the one we're going to post. I am Novel Knit Girl on Instagram and Ravelry, and everything I talk about today will be listed in the description below this video. Please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, come back in the future. I love that you chose to spend some time with me today to talk about what I've been knitting and reading lately. I'm in southeastern Wisconsin and it is a gorgeous day and I really just want to be outside. It feels unfair though. My son started travel baseball. He's 12 years old, and every baseball game so far that we've had has been the worst spring weather imaginable. So freezing, raining, windy, and then today is almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and it just feels unfair. So today I have a lot to talk to you about. I have a frog situation that I think I'm reversing. I don't think I'm going to frog it, but I want to talk it out with you guys. I have 2 finished objects, 5 works in progress, and I've read some really good books lately. So if you like the book chat, today's the day for you. Right now I am hosting a make-along until the end of October. It is called Scraps, Minis, and More. It is to encourage you to use your scraps and your minis, because we've all bought those Advent skeins, right? And any other yarn laying around your house. So it's really, I don't have a lot of rules. I don't like to be restrictive in my make-alongs. So really, knit or crochet, you don't have to finish anything and you only have to use 3 yarns. So if it is minis or if it's scraps, that's great. But if you also just make a shawl with 3 skeins of yarn, please enter that as well. You can participate on Ravelry. I have a thread in my podcast group, which will be linked down below. And you can also use the hashtag #NKScrapsMinis and More on Instagram if you want to participate there. So I hope you'll join me. I just really wanted an excuse to start getting through some of my scraps around here and have a focus for them. For Vital Few, I already talked about Milo. He is really busy with baseball, and Claire turned 15 this week, and I'm not okay. She is starting driver's ed at the end of this month. She just got a job for the summer, and yeah. They don't tell you when you bring this little baby home from the hospital that one day she's going to be 5'8", and I don't know, and growing up so much. It's I'm trying really hard to be like cool with it, but I don't have a lot of chill when it comes to my kids growing up. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'll get there because I have to, right? I love who she is and who she's becoming, but sometimes I just miss that little girl and how much simpler life was. Yeah, definitely a lot more complicated these days with both kids. So at the beginning of this year, I had one kid going into middle school and one kid going into high school for the first time. And now it's like, oh gosh, we're already through that. That went fast. If you have little ones, really enjoy that time, because next thing you know, you don't have little kids anymore and you don't know where they went. Anyway, I want to talk through a frog. So earlier this week, actually maybe last week, I looked at my Misurina by Caitlin Hunter and I was like, I'm going to frog this. Last week, my work situation was so overwhelming. I was working late. I was feeling very stressed out. I just couldn't deal. I was all over the place, as you'll probably see a little bit with my episode today. But I was like, I'm just gonna frog it. I don't want to do this. It looks too small. I have a mistake in the color work. I'm done. I'll cast it on again in different yarn. I have plenty of yarn. I can do something else. Like, this is where I was. I was very like feeling it's out of here. Sorry, I'm gonna have some baseball analogies probably for the next few months. I'll try not to. So then I pulled it out yesterday because I was gathering my supplies to record a video, and I wanted to talk about it and why I was frogging it. And I was like, I'm not sure about this. Let's rethink this a little bit. So I'll pull it out and talk through what I felt. So first I pulled it out and I was like, this is gorgeous. It is so pretty. But I made a pretty major mistake in the color work. You can see this is how the color work is supposed to look. And then this one, I've made some mistakes in here. And then I thought it looked small. So I was like, it's not going to fit. And I made a mistake in the color work. It's gone. I was very dramatic in my head. And then I pulled it out yesterday. I was like, maybe you should try it on. Find out if it fits before you go crazy. So I did. I tried it on. It's on like a barber cord right now because I did try it on. And it fits great. So then I thought, okay, maybe we should try to duplicate stitch. And if the duplicate stitching doesn't work, then I will frog. So that's where I'm at. I tried it on. It fits nicely. I think it will work. It's still pretty short. It's like right at my rib cage when I put it on. So I still need quite a bit of length. I remember thinking last year that I wasn't going to have enough yarn. This is how much yarn I have. I think this is plenty to finish the length and add some short sleeves. And if I run out, I have this much of the contrasting color that could be for the cuffs if needed. So I don't think the yarn is going to be an issue. This is Plucky Knitter in Town and Country. It's like a gray with green in it. There you can see. And this is Stress Knits in Last Christmas. And I'm just dying to cast a pair of socks on in this yarn because I love it so much. The colors are just awesome. So that's where I'm at. I tried it on yesterday and I decided that now I am going to try to duplicate stitch and see how that goes. If it works, I'm going to finish the sweater. If it doesn't work, then I will frog it. And I already have some yarn planned for a next one. I think I'm going to make this sweater again in the future with long sleeves and a different, like a light and dark, so that the main color would be light and then the flowers would be dark. I can still do that even if I don't frog this. So I'll let you know how this goes. I'll try some duplicate stitching and see if that does the trick. And if not, then maybe I'll frog it. But have any of you fixed color work mistakes by doing duplicate stitch before, and did it work? I'm definitely nervous about that. All right, let's go into what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits. I just knit this past winter. I need to make some modifications to this to make it work better for me. As you could probably tell, this slips off my shoulders. I was watching, I think, Cozy Up Knits, and I think it was Katie was talking about hers, and she said that that's what she doesn't like about the sweaters. It slips off her shoulders. I totally get it. I feel like this really needed some short rows, which I did not add. It did not have them in the pattern. This is a free pattern. And so when I wear it, I'll stand up really quick. You really won't be able to see, but it's mine is really long, and it comes up higher in the back than the front. And it slips off my shoulders. So I would like to do something to make this work more for me. I have more of this Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn. One thing I definitely want to do is make some pockets to put at the bottom to just give it some functionality. The other thing I'm thinking is I need to find out a way to keep it closed. Yes, I could get like a shawl pin. I've never worn a shawl pin in my life, so I'm not sure about that, but I could try it. Other thing I thought is I have enough yarn. I could probably make a belt. I don't really like belted sweaters. I was going to make the Ginny by Andrea Mowry for years and years and years. And then I thought there are two things I don't like. I don't like a big shawl collar, and I don't like belts on my sweaters. So then another thought I had is I have some snaps, and I thought, what if I just put a couple snaps up here? I could put like 2 snaps to just hold it closed, like right here. And I thought that could work because I need something up high enough that it'll pull the shoulders in. But then the snaps will always show if I don't have it buttoned. So that is the only reason I'm not sure about that. So if you have any suggestions, that would be great. I do like this sweater. I just feel like there were a few things I wish I would have known going into it. And one is that it definitely needs short rows, and I could have even added them to the back hem. I just didn't really know. And that the shoulders are real slippy. I mean, it just falls. But I think if I can do something to pull it in here, it'll work better for me. Plus it needs pockets. And I'm just gonna make 2 pockets and put them right here. And I don't even think I'll do garter on the bottom. I think I'll just do 2 stockinette, I'll do a stockinette square and then do a little garter up here. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna add some pockets there. I probably won't do it until the winter when I'm inside a lot more. The season is changing and I'm going to be outside much more gardening, and while I will still knit a ton, I just don't know that like this sweater is going to be what I want to work on this summer. All right, I also have 2 finished objects today and they are both neckwear. It's very exciting. So the first one is the Livie shawl by Tamy Gore. I started this in April of 2021 and I finished it almost 2 years later. So I used 2 yarns by Lolo Did It. The green is Rumpelstiltskin and the pink is Hello Gorgeous, and I just love it. I did mess up the first eyelet section, but I don't really think you can tell. It's a very, very engaging knit, and then you get to a point where your axis changes and it's just a lot of fun to knit. It's so pretty. And this shape is my new favorite shape. I used to be someone who loved a big bulky shawl. The bulkier, the bigger, the better. Now this is my jam. Long, skinny, that just sits nicely around your neck. To me, this is perfection. The colors are perfection. The design's perfection. I love it. This is my new favorite shawl. And I can see myself getting a lot of wear out of this. I was thinking when I kind of started it up again that maybe this would be a gift knit for someone, or maybe I'd give it away. Recently, I donated some of my shawls to my son's baseball team. We did a fundraiser and had some auction items, and people actually bought my shawls. And so I thought, well, maybe this would be good for that in the future. And I was like, no, this is for me. I love it. Definitely one of my favorite shawl knits ever. The colors have a lot to do with it, and also the design is just smart and fantastic. So I really love it, and I would highly recommend it. It's very long and very beautiful. So my next finished object is the Free for All Cowl by Peck. I made this out of Leading Men Fiber Arts, their box office worsted, and then I held a strand of Quivet yarn that my parents gifted to me several years ago, and it makes for this very busy but fuzzy and warm cowl. I love it. It's free. The pattern is free. You do a provisional cast on, and I don't do anything special for a provisional cast on. So I just wanted to put that out there because I watch a lot of, other knitting podcasts, and they'll talk about using a crochet hook to do a provisional cast on. What I do is I cast on a long tail cast on, which is what I normally do. And then I knit 2 rows, and then I join my working yarn, and then I start the pattern. And then when I get to the end of the pattern, and you have to graft, because this one you had to Kitchener it together, I just take my needle and I unravel until I get to that first row of stitches with the waste yarn, and then I just take out 1 stitch at a time and put my needle in, and it works really, really well. So that's what I did. And this one, you can't even see the graft. It is really it's a great pattern for a free pattern, and I just really love it, and it's for me. I wanted to find something that would work with this Quivet yarn that would keep me warm. When I first got it, they also gave me a pattern for a lace scarf that was very nice, but I was never ever going to use that. So in this way, this will keep me warm, because Quivet yarn is known for being very warm, and I can feel the heat already on my neck right now, and I like it. It is busy. It's a busy cowl, but I like it, and it's got that special yarn in it from my parents, and I think this will last me for a very long time. Highly recommend this pattern. I probably maybe could have done another repeat of the pattern because it is a little, this I-cord engine makes it a little tight to get over your head, but I think any looser and it wouldn't keep me as warm. So I'm really happy with the choices I made. All right, let's get into some works in progress. I got some Quivet in my nose. All right. Okay. It's a lot going on here. Okay. Start with a pair of socks. Yeah, these are the ones. So Nancy Wheeler, she's a sock pattern genius. She is Knit Step Happy on Instagram and Ravelry. If you don't follow her, you should. She always has a new pattern coming out, and she recently went to New York with her daughter and brought this new sock design with her and photographed it all over the city, and it was really fun. Anyway, so I have another pair of socks by her on my needles called the Freddie Beach socks. Those are in timeout because then she released the Tits Up socks and I had to make them. So I casted them on for my mom. When Nancy releases a new pattern, for the first 1 or 2 weeks, she donates all the sales to her patterns to a charity. And the Tits Up is named after the show on Amazon Prime, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I guess they say Tits Up. It's like a thing that they say. I haven't watched it yet. I will, but I haven't gotten there yet. And, but I think I'm not 100%. So if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure for Nancy's charity for the Tits Up socks, she was donating to breast cancer research or awareness or something. And my mom is a 2-time survivor of breast cancer. And though I won't tell her these are called the Tits Up socks, I thought it was a good choice for her. So here they are. You can kind of see there's some cables and they make tits on both sides. And I finished one whole sock. So I followed Nancy's instructions exactly up until the toe. Because in toe, I go into autopilot and I just always do my own thing. But I did the called for heel, the heel flap and gusset, which I think looks really nice in this yarn. I should mention that the yarn is from Ravolution. This is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is super soft and very, very squishy. You can see it kind of almost has like a halo to it. It's lovely. It turned out really, really nice. These are for my mom. She wears a US size 10.5 shoe. So her feet are a little bit longer than mine. I hope these fit. If not, I'll take them. So I have 1 week to finish the second sock. I think I'll get there. And when I'm doing a pattern like this, which is one of the reasons I really like Nancy's patterns, she usually has like a 6-row repeat, and then you can just count your repeat, and that's how I will measure the second sock. So I am not one of those people that's going to put in like stitch markers every 10th row. That's just not me. I am someone who will like try it on as I go. I'll kind of guesstimate. I'll hold one sock up to the second sock, and you know, I'll kind of just measure with my hands. I'm not very specific when it comes to socks. Sometimes I pull out a sock ruler if I'm doing it for somebody else, or a measure, or like just a regular ruler. Like if I know like my dad, I know now like how long his socks have to be, so I'll actually like measure his. But I mean, I'm not putting like stitch markers. That's just not who I am. Funny story about this pattern is I can usually cable without a cable needle, but the first, like the top cable, I can't do that first right cross without a cable needle. So I've been using this cable needle. It is from Knit Picks. It is a wooden cable needle and it has these grooves in it. And this is, if you have trouble with cabling, this is a great like kind of easy cable needle because A, it's wooden. I think the wood needles hold on to your stitches a little bit better, and B, those grooves really hang on to the stitches. So if you worry about, you know, your stitches sliding off a cable needle, I would highly recommend these. But yeah, it's just funny. I don't normally need a cable needle. I don't know if it's that this is slippery yarn. I'm not sure, but yeah, so I've been using a cable needle, but only for one of the cables. And so here was the sock set. Here they are, the colors. I am showing this very oddly. It's like Mickey Mouse. And then here's her tag. And this I think might have been my first yarn from Canada that came vacuum sealed. So it was really nice. Very, very, very soft. Lovely yarn to work with. I think my mom's going to love these. My mom is a little hard on her socks. She can't help it. It's just how she is at 78 years old. So hopefully these will wear well, but they'll be soft no matter what. And I guess that's a nice thing because at least I know my mom does really, really wear the socks that I make for her. So there are worse things that could happen. Okay, my next work in progress is my DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry. This I am doing for the DRK March to May make-along that goes to the end of May. This is just a pretty, I hate to use the word basic, but it's a pretty basic round yoke stockinette sweater. It's just going to be a nice staple piece in my wardrobe. The yarn that I'm using is, oh goodness, I'm not sure what's happening. I'm going to have to bring the whole bag up. Is Wool of the Andes Claret Heather. It's a sport weight yarn, which I have to say does not feel much bigger than fingering. It feels like it's taking forever. So here's where I'm at. I really, really love this. I tried it on. It's fitting really nicely. I think you can kind of see the increase rounds, but I think that'll block out really well. I added 2 inches, I think, to the stockinette under the arm, and now I'm on the bottom ribbing. I'm going to do 4 inches of ribbing and try it on again and see if I need to add more. I don't want a cropped sweater, but I also think that this doesn't need to be like super, super long either. Like it can be just kind of a, I'm hoping to get a nice style with it where it feels not cropped, but a little bit more like tailored, if that makes sense. That's not a word I normally use. But yeah, I hope this will have a little bit more of a tailored look when it's done. So I'm trying. I really love it. It's coming along well. I don't know if I'll finish it by the end of this month. It does feel like it's a slow knit for me. Probably also because I have so many other things going on and just signed up for another test knit, which I wasn't supposed to do this year. Okay, last year I casted on the Streamline Tank by 2 of Wands. This is a pretty well-known pattern. They have kits on lionbrand.com, which is where I purchased this from. So you've probably seen this. I casted it on last year on a plane to Seattle, and I made a mistake, which was stupid. And I just put it in this bag and put it in my closet, and I was like, I'll deal with that next year. Well, it's next year, so I'm dealing with it. So I'm using the called for yarn, which is this Kobo by Lion Brand, and the color Steel Blue. And this is a cotton bamboo blend. I'm not a big fan of cotton yarns. I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, so I'm not very far because I had to rip it all out and start all over again, but here's where we're at. So the bottom and the side has this like half fisherman's rib detail, which I like. And it's just, you make a front and the back, and I think you make them the same, and then you seam it together. So this is where I'm at. Last year when I started it, I started it on the size needle called for in the pattern, which I think was a 7, and the fabric was just really, really holey, and I did not like that. So I went down to a size 6 needle, and I think it's going to be big enough. I don't know. I should gauge swatch, but I'll never learn. I have such good intentions, and I do on like the big projects, but I don't know. I think for some reason I was like, it's a tank top. It'll fit. So that's kind of just slow. I picked that up. I'll usually do like just a couple rounds or rows back and forth at a time. I haven't put like any long concentrated time on that one. It's not the thing I'm drawn to, but I do want a tank top. And I think because it is pretty light, I'll probably wear it like over my bathing suit. Our friends have a pool, so we'll spend some time at their pool. We're going to Tennessee this summer for my son's, we have a baseball trip to Tennessee, and I think we'll be outside around pools a lot. So I thought it'd be like a nice like throw over swimsuit top kind of thing. Okay, I have another pair of socks. I actually thought this week that I should buy more sock needles, and then I kind of had to talk myself out of that and say, like, no, finish some of the socks you already have on needles, and then you'll have more needles. That's how it works. But I had recently purchased some yarn from Ashley of Nomadic Yarns, and she did some Pride and Prejudice colorways, and I love Jane Austen. I love Pride and Prejudice. It's like one of my guiltiest pleasures. If I'm having a bad day, 2005 Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley goes on. If I, it's my go-to. So I couldn't resist these colors, and this one is called the Shades of Pemberley, and I think it's just so pretty. It has such nice greens and mints, and just such a pretty color. And my neighbor has a birthday coming up, so I casted these on for her. And this is the Stack of Books socks by the Sock Witchery. Very, very, very simple pattern. I thought this would be great for the days that I go to baseball games. So I just love it. Ashley is there. I mean, those dyers that do self-striping are so talented, and I'm just always drawn to Ashley's color palette. I think she knocks it out of the park every time. Even if they're colors that I don't gravitate toward, she puts them together so well. Okay, and then I have a test knit that I started for Tiffany Lynn. I was not supposed to sign up for any test knits this year, and this is why. It's stressing me out already. So she put out a testing call for a new summer tee called the Vibes Tee, or just Vibes. So here it is. And I was like, well, I want to make more t-shirts this summer. I'm going to sign up. If she selects me, I'll figure it out. So she selected me, and she did say that you could do just 2 colors, but I really wanted to do 4. And I had a specific palette in my head. I wanted super neutral, like black, white, gray, and a pop of like gold or mustard. That was what I was aiming for. And I did cast that on, and all the yarn bases were different, and it just wasn't coming together the way I wanted it to. I wasn't happy with it, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I put every yarn that I own in my stash on Ravelry. So I was like, well, I want to find all the same base. So I looked, and I have a ton of Knit Picks yarn. Too much, one may say. And apparently they had a Caparetta fingering weight that is now discontinued, and I must have gotten a great deal because I don't know why else I would have this yarn. And it is, what is it? It is superwash fine merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. And it is so soft. So I was like, okay. So I had some different colors, and I came up with some colors that I thought would go well together. And I thought, yeah, that looks pretty good. I like it. I wasn't really thinking much. Like, I thought, like, oh, this works. This gray will kind of be like a nice neutral, and it'll, this will be great. So I started it, and I've come around, but I didn't love it at first. All of a sudden that gray is reading real purple, and this was reading like Easter peeps to me. And I almost changed my mind. I had some other yarn in my stash, and I thought, well, I could do this. I could maybe switch out one of the colors and do this. But then I thought, this is what I would always do. This is very Dehnel. This is very autumn. This is very much what I normally go for. And I thought, there's nothing wrong. I'm trying to get there where it's good to have variety, and it's okay to have different things in your wardrobe. And clearly I like these colors, and I do like them. It just, I wasn't sure right away that the colors would be right for me. I definitely think it's a little out of my wheelhouse and comfort zone, but I'm going to stick with it. And I have enough of this yarn that I can, if I love it, I can make another version with those fall colors as well. or I can make a different sweater with those yarns. Like there's options. Sorry, I have a little bit of a mess going on here, so I'm just trying to pull it all back together. So yeah, so I'm good with it. This may not be, I don't know. I think I have to get further into the sweater and really feel the vibe of it, and then I think I'll know. But I'm going with it for now. I'm keeping on, but it's, as soon as I kind of started, I was like, this isn't really me, but I'm going to go with it. Sometimes that's a good option. Oh my goodness, this really, all right. So I think that is it for most of my whips. Now I was just going to do a quick update on my scrappy projects. I put 4 squares on Milo's cozy memory blanket, but I did not remember to bring that down with me today. He's so funny. I will probably put 2 more squares on his, and then I'll switch over to Claire's blanket, but he thinks his blanket is far superior to Claire's. He just loves everything about it. He loves the charm on it. He's like, Mom, it's so good. I can't wait till you're done with it. And I was like, no, give me a wait in a couple of years, because these take a long time. But he's loving it. I'll show that next time because I'll have more squares on it. And then I've been putting a ton of time into my Bits and Bobs by Kay Jones. This is like, I love this blanket. I'm to a point where I'm like, once this one's done, I'm casting on another one. I love Fisherman's Rib. It is definitely like methodical and just wonderful to me. So I think since you last saw it, I added this color, this color, this, and this. And I'm holding leftover sock yarn or mini skeins or whatever I have with a ball of Knit Pick Stroll in the Dove Heather. So that's why it comes out kind of marled looking. And I just love it. And this was the first yarn I ever dyed, and I made socks for my dad out of that. This is Lolo Did It. This is Lediman Fiber Arts and Owl Always Love You, or Owl Love You, or something like that. But I love it. I love working on this. This is what I want to work on the most, for better or for worse. This is what I'm drawn to. My Scraptastic Stash Busting blanket is on hold because one of my magic knot balls, one of the knots came loose. And once I saw it, I was like, yeah, I was being a little lazy on my knots on this ball, and it came apart. So I'm like an inch past where it came apart. I'm going to unravel it. I'm going to redo that magic knot ball. And then I did get that fabric glue, and I'm just going to go through and, Penelope, stop. I'm going to go through and I'm going to dab all the knots with it. I think when I talked about it last time, I'm like, I don't care if the knots come apart. Well, I do. I care. So I'm gonna take some care, and I'm gonna add the glue to the knots. And yeah, it still brings me joy. I just have to repair it a little bit, and just make sure that I'm not gonna have trouble with those knots, because I really enjoyed that process of not having to have all of the ends that I'm gonna have to, well, this is the wrong side. All of the ends that are going to have to be dealt with in time. Like, I'm not excited for any of this. It'll happen. I'll weave them all in, and then I have to put a border on it. But yeah, so I think that I like the theory of the magic knot balls. I just have to make sure that I take better care in doing them, because I knew I got a little lazy with them on this second ball, and then make sure that I put just a little bit of glue on them, and I think that'll help. Okay, so I have a little dream knitting today. So in theory, if all goes according to plan, I will have a streamlined tank, a Vibes tee, and a Misurina done in the next month or so. That would be great. And then I have a couple more short sleeve sweaters that I want to make this winter. Last summer I picked up 2 colors of comfy fingering yarn from Knit Picks. This is Parchment and Cabin, to make a Dingley Dell by Isabel Kramer. And I want to make that this year. It is a V-neck t-shirt with stripes, and I really want to make that. I wanted to make it last year, and then I just ran out of time. I also have this ongoing love affair with Sonder Yarn Co. And I got 2 skeins of this Muse 90% merino, 10% linen yarn to make the Salty Air tee by Samantha Guerin. That has just like a little lace work on the top, and it's just another nice tee. And I thought this would be really interesting to try with this linen component to see how I feel about that. Maybe it'll be lighter than the Caparetta. I'm sure it will be. So that's the thing about the Caparetta too. Like, it may not be the most breathable fabric, but it's good. It's good. It's good. I'm talking myself into it. It's good. Sometimes we have to give ourselves pep talks, right? I've been pep talking myself all week for my hobby. Oh, goodness. So yeah. And then I still have my Ilia on the needles, which is a colorwork, kind of cowl-y neck sweater by Caitlin Hunter. And I want to get through just the color work, and then I'm fine putting that one aside for the summer, and then I can pull it back out in the fall. I'm just afraid if I stop right now with the color work, I'm gonna lose my rhythm with it, and I don't want that to happen. So I think I want to do that. And then I also have on the needles an Eastbound sweater. I don't remember the designer, but it's in black yarn, and I'm just not drawn to knitting with black yarn ever, but maybe the summer will be a good time to take it outside in the sunlight and work on it then. We'll see. So in theory, I could have a lot of sweaters done this summer if I really just focus. But focus is a hard thing for me with my knitting because I love to jump around. That's my favorite part about knitting, is that like I can work on a sock for 5 minutes, I can go work on my blanket for a while, and then at night when I'm watching TV with my husband, I can put on a couple inches of stockinette on my DRK every day. I mean, that's how I knit. I jump around all day. I pick up different projects. I just don't work on the same thing all the time. I wish I could change, but I can't. All right, let's get into book club. I have a really nice book club today, I think. I've read some different books, and really, really good books. So I have finished Tear Me Apart by J.T. Ellison. I gave that 3 stars. I talked about this a little bit last time. One of the characters is a 17-year-old Olympic bound skier, and she has a bad accident which brings her to the hospital. She has to have surgery on her leg. In the process, they find out that she has cancer, and then from that diagnosis, they learn that neither one of her parents is biologically related to her. And that kind of catapults the whole story. So there's an aunt that's also a character, some other characters that come in that I won't say because I think it's gives a little bit away. There is one plot point that the reader knows well before most of the other characters, which I thought was interesting. But overall, there were like a few plausibility issues where I was like, people wouldn't really act like that. And some of the characters were not very likable, where I was just like, can she just go away? Like, I don't like reading about that. But overall, it was a good kind of mystery thriller. So if you like those kind of books, it was a solid 3 stars for me. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just, yeah, it was just okay. Like, I liked it, but like, I'll never read it again. Then I finished Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev, and that was so good. It's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and I won't go into how much I love Pride and Prejudice because I've already kind of talked about that this episode, but the thing that was neat about this book is it's kind of based on this Indian family, and the power dynamic was switched in this one. So the Darcy character was the female and the Elizabeth Bennet character was the male. And so that power dynamic was really interesting. I thought it was good. I really enjoy her writing. They're fluffy, but sometimes there's a time and place for fluff, and I enjoyed it. It was good. Then I read This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. This was a 5-star book for me. I thought it was, the subject matter was handled with such care, and I really, really, really liked it. It's about Rosie and Penn, who are a couple, and they have 4 rambunctious boys, and then they have a 5th boy, Claude. And by the time Claude is 4 years old, he's starting to wear dresses and, you know, identifying as a girl. And it's just really interesting how they, as parents, navigate having a trans child, and then they move away. And when they move away to a different town, they start out by telling the first people they meet that, like, Poppy, who Claude is identified as Poppy, has a penis, and those parents say, well, we're not going to tell our kids because we don't want it to be confusing for them. And then that kind of stops them from sharing that Poppy is really, not really, but is anatomically a boy. And so it has a lot of feels. There was a time I got kind of annoyed with the author because I felt like she was like, she has one parent that's, you know, like, let's do all the medical things for Poppy to help her live her best life as a girl. And then one parent that's like, but what if she's really Claude and this is just a phase? And, you know, so like they brought in all those conversations pretty well. It wasn't perfect, but it was handled overall very well. And I thought it was a beautiful story about family. And, you know, I just thought like the title was perfect. I really enjoyed the experience of it. I had to take it in chunks because there were times when it was like hard because, you know, hard moments were happening. And, but I really, I thought overall an important book, a very good book. And then I read Homecoming by Kate Morton. I gave that 4 stars. This is one of those dual timeline books where I love them, but I don't, you know, like, so there's one, the main character lives in England and she has to go back to her family's estate in Australia. Her grandmother has fallen, and then it turns into like getting into the family's history and estate. And she finds out there's another house that her uncle used to own called Halcyon, where a mother and her 4 children were found dead on the property, and they think the mother poisoned her family, and then their baby was taken by dingoes and disappeared. So then it kind of shifts back in time and present time, and she's kind of uncovering the mystery at the same time that we're kind of learning from the characters in the past of what happened and who they were. It's good. It's great. It got a bit long in the middle. Writing's wonderful. The story is good, engaging. It up until the last page, you're not fully satisfied. So it had a lot of great things. It just, if you're gonna read it, be ready for a long haul. It just felt long after a while, but it's very good. So I would recommend that as well. Wonderful writing. She's a great writer. Just lengthy. And then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. I really loved this book. I mentioned maybe already that I've had like a really busy time at work lately, and I totally treated myself with this book. I had read her last book called Book Lovers recently, and I loved that so much. And this is not as good as Book Lovers, but it was great. She does an excellent job writing just wonderful, witty banter. Basic premise is Harriet and 5 of her friends that have been friends since college are getting together to say goodbye to a house that they have vacationed at as a group very many times. Her ex-fiance is there, but the rest of the friend group doesn't know that they broke up, so they have to pretend to be together there. And so it's kind of going back in time to kind of show the start of the relationship and the ups and downs of their relationship, and then, you know, present time, what's happening, and then also how like friendships change and grow, and you know, people change and what they need changes, and you can't expect everyone to be the same. So I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. I definitely had a couple tears. But it could have been my state of mind at the time. But I gave that 4 stars. I thought it was pretty good as well. Currently, I'm reading Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, who I just found out is also a knitter. I have another book by her in my queue as well. This is my first Barbara Kingsolver book, and I'm very early on into it. I am listening to it on Audible. I will say I don't love the narration so far, so I'm hoping that doesn't like hold me back, but I'm looking forward to getting into this book more. And then I'm still reading The Do-Over by Suzanne Park. And it's fine. It's real fluffy, fluffier than I was expecting. So I'm not like adoring it, but it's fine for reading before bed. This is the she didn't actually graduate from college, so she has to go back and take a few classes, and her ex is her TA. So yeah, it's fine. I feel like I'm being pretty flippant about it. It's very fluffy, a little bit lighter than I was expecting. And then I also recently came into, came into possession by purchasing. Salt and Timber. This is Knits from the Northern Coast by Lindsay Fowler. There were a couple things in this book that I 100% want to make, and you can't get the patterns individually on Ravelry, so I really want to make this culmination blanket. I thought this would be another great pattern for getting rid of some of my scrap yarn. I think if I'm remembering correctly, you can mix weights to come up with like bulky square. And yeah, it looks really nice, and maybe I just want to be out in Maine. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a couple of sock patterns as well as this cardigan pattern on the cover. It looks really beautiful as well. So there are a few things in here, and it's a Lina publication, so of course the pictures are amazing. I mean, it's just photographed so well, and it's worth the cost. So that's all I have for you today. If you're still here, thank you so much for sticking with me. And yeah, if you could give a like, maybe subscribe if you're not subscribed, and leave a comment. I would love to know what you're working on. So if you've fixed color work, please, any suggestions below would be totally appreciated. But otherwise, just let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you're gonna participate in the make along. And thanks so much. I will see you next time, and hopefully it won't be too long. Bye.